you gotta play the intro video.
On 1, on 2, on 3. That's way back there. Back. The pitch to Aramis. There's a drive. Deep left center. Cubs win. Montero drives one in the air. Deep right field. It's got a chance. Grand slam. Way back it might be. It could be. Cubs win. Cubs win. Cubs win. Holy cow.
The Dingers podcast is on the air. I'm your host, Mitch. I'm here with my boys, Kevin and Jeffrey. We're just getting done watching Iowa beat LSU, heading to the Final Four in the women's NCAA 2A basketball tournament. That's why we're a little bit late on recording if you're watching us live on the YouTube. But welcome in. We're going to get to talk about some actual meaningful games. We had our preview episode and prediction last Wednesday, and now we have some games to talk about. And we got a game today. Showed it in Monaga, pitched a gem of a game for getting us win number 2. Play the song, and we got one win in Texas, playing a really good Texas Rangers team. Like that team was stacked. But how are you guys tonight on this fine Monday? Jeffrey, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm just dandy. Rehydrated. I got rid of that hangover from Thursday. Feeling a lot better. Tell you what, I underestimated how tall Three Fingers really was.
Well, you're done drinking that after like inning 3, and then we didn't hear from you, and I was like,
I went to bed.
Do you want to drive over and check? And Jeffrey,
I went to bed at like 7.
So you missed the whole ending of the game.
I did. I did miss that. And, I got a new bed frame this winter, so it's like a platform bed, but I haven't got rid of my box spring. So when the room started to spin, I went to put a leg down on the floor. It wouldn't reach. So then I was just in a tailspin for a couple of hours. So,
but you're good now. You're good tonight.
I'm good.
Kevin, what about you? How are you?
I'm great.
I'm doing good. I had some wonderful stories from Jeff on Friday morning at CrossFit, and it was a great workout. Seeing him after that. But I'm doing well. Baseball's back. It's wonderful. It's awesome. Hawkeyes are about to beat LSU. I still have it on over here, so I'm a little disengaged.
Yeah, Scott in the comments. Go Hawks. Clark Goat.
Yeah.
That's right. Ian's in there. Let's go Hawks. That's right.
But it's
I'm really glad I pulled this out. I mean, I wanted them to be LSU. One, because Kim Mulkey is just the worst.
Fucking idiot. What?
And like I don't know. Like I just wanted Clark to get him into the Final Four for the second straight year. And you look at like, we're going to break down Iowa. Maybe we should become an Iowa women's basketball pod. I don't think there's one of those. Maybe we should become that. Maybe a little late. I don't know. But like you look at LSU and they're like a whole bunch of like 5-star recruit type players, and Iowa's just Caitlin Clark. Like she's the only like really high recruit. So like getting a team like that to beat these teams, like it's great. So love that Caitlin Clark is leading them back to the Final Four. Let's get her done this time and go Hawks
all the way.
But let's talk a little bit of the Rangers series. Some good, some bad. Let's start with the bullpen, because that was what I kind of saw looking at it from afar. It's easy to look at it and like, okay, we lost 2 of the games. And especially in the first game, you had Alzolay give up that home run in the 9th, which sucks. But you look overall, besides the Ben Brown coming in, which I don't even consider that bullpen, giving up runs, the Cubs bullpen has been nails to start the season, especially like today, yesterday in the win, you had Leiter Jr., Merriweather, Neris, Alzolay. Like that lead up, like boom, 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 like will win you a lot of games. That gets you like into the 6th, 7th inning, and you're going to win a ton of games just with that. Leiter Jr. looks strong, look back like his midseason form. Merriweather looked great. He even pitched like 2 innings the other day, looked great. Neris, man, that like he is absolutely filthy. And then Elsley, I think there's going to be some times where in the closer position this year he struggles, but where he'll have to work out of loud jams. But what have you guys thought so far? Who's been kind of like the bullpen arm that you've been most impressed with and that you think is going to kind of help solidify our bullpen down the road? Let's start with you, Kevin.
Yeah, bullpen's been nails. I mean, you can look at any individual outing and nitpick something here or there. I mean, the fact that we went to Texas at the new stadium to the Cubs, and we still got a win there. And outside of the middle game, which we'll get into in a little bit, those were competitive games, and we lost in extras. The first game against the World Series champions. Looking at the bullpen, I've really liked Mark Leiter Jr. I know I picked him to be my bust kind of player this year, but I want to see that. I want to see him work well. He sets up the people behind him so well because he's so different. He's been fun to watch outside of Shota today. I've really enjoyed seeing him pitch. But the whole crew has been nice. It's weird going into a season and being like, I like our bullpen. Our bullpen's working well. We're not playing the stick a guy here and see if it works out or not. It's been a nice change of pace. Speaking of changes of pace, Jeff, how's the laundry?
I'm not doing any laundry, but I got some hanging. Anyway, no, the bullpen to me looked like it was going to be one of the brighter spots, or maybe something that we didn't have to worry about this year because Jed made the bold move not to be sellers at the trade deadline. So it's not like we had to completely retool and rebuild the arm barn. Last year they kind of took it on the chin towards the end of the season because they were overworked and due to injury, a little beleaguered. So, we lost, 10 one-run games? Or they blew 10 saves in multiple one-run games anyway in September. So, and we missed the playoffs by a game. So I'm not real upset that we went to the defending World Series champions home, lost the first one in extras by a run. That game was not great. What was it, 11-2? But we took one from them. I mean, yeah, I think everybody would have been a lot happier if we would have went 2-1. But, we hit 500 today. For me, I really think QAS
Boss.
it's probably going to be a bright spot in the lineup.
QAS is what Jeffrey calls him. Most people call him Boss.
Like his name.
Yeah. What's his first name? Derek QAS.
Oh my goodness! It begins. Here's the new named guy. Here we are.
Oh.
We had him on the team last year, right?
The thing that I have noticed with Klaus is he hasn't pitched every game. That Council uses him a little bit different than what Ross used him.
Not every reliever is born with a rubber arm, as David Ross thinks. Hey, get it back out there. You pitched 80 pitches yesterday. You can do it again.
I'm gonna go with Hector Neris. I think that is a huge pickup. I think it takes pressure off Merriweather. It takes pressure off Elsley. And from what I've heard is he's a leader down there in the bullpen. And it's a guy you can use Merriweather in he came in yesterday and pitched 2 innings.
Right.
You can use him a little bit differently because he's so good. You can use him a little bit different rather than having to be the 8th inning guy. Now you have Hector Neris, boom, he's there in the 8th, almost all the time. He's going to be probably used in more of the high leverage situations I see, even more so than Elsley. He's got better stuff, more experience, been through it all, been through the World Series. He's battle tested. That I like the way things are even set up. And I haven't even talked about Luke Little. You get that guy some experience this year and throw a lefty in the mix there. The bullpen might be the strength of this team going down the stretch for us making the playoffs. Like that's might be like where last year was the total opposite, where we're like, oh, our starter's going out. Like this might be trouble.
Ah, crap.
Now it's like, okay, we got guys down there. We got dudes that can pitch, and we have a lot of them. Where last year we only trusted about 3 guys towards the end of the season because of injury. Hopefully, like knock on wood, we don't hit the injury bug with our bullpen, because that's going to hurt. But we do have guys even down in Iowa that are legit. So yeah, I do want to touch on game 2 a little bit and talk about Kyle Hendricks. And I tweeted this out, or I didn't tweet it. I sent it to our group message that I think Kyle Hendricks won't be on the roster at the end of the season with the Cubs. And he necessarily maybe won't be like, he'll be on the roster. He might not get DFA'd, but he will hit the injury list at some point, or something will happen.
Collarbone contusion.
Where he'll still be on the team, but he won't be pitching big innings or in the rotation.
I don't.
What are your thoughts?
I don't think he will either. I really felt like last year was kind of, he was coming to the end of the road last year. So to have him back this year was a little bit surprising to me. It's not that he's not a great pitcher. It's just when he faces a team of hitters, he gets knocked around a lot. So if he's off a little bit with his command and his location and, his deception, because his off speed really isn't that much off speed, because everything is off speed, he gets hit and gives up long balls. So,
yeah. So Mitch, you did text that to us, and I immediately went to the big sad with Ian, and was struggling. Something I thought about though, I kind of as I ruminated on it and debated and maybe had an adult beverage or two. I was thinking about it, and I got to thinking about John Lackey from the World Series team, and I don't think he was on the playoff roster like at all.
He was on the playoff roster. He didn't pitch as much.
He didn't pitch in the World Series.
Where it's as much in the World Series, but he was on he pitched some big playoff games.
Yeah, what I was thinking was the World Series. He wasn't, because that was a big deal at the time. He wasn't on the World Series part of the roster. He was still in the dugout, but I was sitting there kind of thinking like maybe he takes an advisory role, which I think is what some of the guys are talking about in the in the chat here. Maybe he eats innings when the season gets a little less rough, later in the summer when we're not playing, the Diamondbacks and the Mariners and, all these teams that are going to be competing really highly. Was kind of what I was kind of thinking in my head a little bit. I don't know if it'll work out. I agree that, unfortunately he doesn't have the command like he used to, which was the thing that made him click.
Yeah. Like the thing is, he's such a professional. He has his routine. He's going to get you a solid outing. It's just, I just said, like, when he faces good teams, they barrel him up. Like, I would never pitch him against Atlanta ever.
Right.
Like, he always gets creamed by Atlanta anyway. Like, the thing is, like, we have a juggernaut of an April, and we're going to rely heavily on hoping our leadership of Kyle can carry us. But I really think it's going to be the young guys in Wicks and Shota that's going to be really carrying us. And Assad pitching quality innings going to get us wins. I love Kyle, but I think we're getting towards the end of his time with the Cubs. Wow, like that. That was my take, and I mean, it sucks. It sucks saying it, because like he's such a great dude, and he's the only one left from the World Series, and so it's hard to say that. But when you look at it, that's what it is. Speaking of Shota got the start on the home opener tonight or today, 120. It's great to have games back at 120. Like I
Nice
love
day
it.
game. Yep.
Nice
Other
day.
than they're almost over by the time I get home.
Well, that's why you become a teacher and you have your summers off where 120 it doesn't really matter.
We know how much you walk while you're at work, Jeff.
Oh, I usually get that done like early. So
Get the MLB at Bat app and then you
Just
can listen
put
to the
mock-
radio.
Yeah, there you go. Put
Well,
Mock to work and just listen to it on the radio.
that happens all the time anyway. But anyway, most of the time after noon, I don't start any new projects anyway. So I'm usually pretty well freed up. I need to get a nice phone mount for my truck so I can just put the game on, my direct TV. You know what I mean?
There you go. And I like what Ian says down here. The Cubs don't plan their games around you, Jeff. You have to figure that out. Got to figure it out.
They ought to. What else revolves the world around me?
That's not true at all. Not true at all. Yeah, it was a wonderful game today. It was a lot of fun to watch. There were a couple of hard hit balls that at first off the bat, I was like, oh no. And I was like, oh wait, it's April. It's going to be fine.
The wind was howling and cold. But he's out there like a man with sleeves, no sleeves on, like just bearing it. Like I knew we were going to win from the moment I turned the TV on and saw that he didn't have an undershirt on. It's like, oh,
nice.
Showed as a man. Like he's just a
in his
man.
element.
He's a man out there in the mound. He's gonna deal. Like we already got this game. Like that's intimidation on the mound right there. 101. Like I'm gonna tell my son, like we have a game in 2 weeks. I don't care how cold it is. If you're pitching, you ain't wearing an undershirt, buddy. You gotta show intimidation. So we can learn anything from today. But no, like Imanaga pitched great, 6 solid innings, only gave up 2 hits, 9 Ks, got his first win on his very first game in the majors. Loved what I saw, how he worked, and just how he pounded the zone. Like he worked up in the zone with his fastball. His splitter worked really, really well. Changeup, just he was dealing. He was next level. I thought there in the second inning and that 14 pitch at bat that might rattle him or that might get the Rockies to like kind of time him up and figure him out, but that was not the case. Got that guy in a K and then K'd the next couple of guys, even after he gave up a hit there in the, was it 5th?
Yeah.
Got the next guy out, struck out, K'd Bryant a couple times, which we do have to give Bryant the standing ovation. That was awesome during the game to kind of see Chris Bryant, but man, how the mighty have fallen there. And I think he's just kind of like, I mean, if you were Chris Bryant and you had a bag of cash and you were playing for the Rockies right now, I'll be honest, it's really hard to get up for a game. It's really hard to show you play your best when you know you're playing for the Colorado Rockies.
Definitely when the left fielder's like a little leaguer out there.
Yes, they did get some help out there. But Christopher Morel hitting the ball hard and heads up base running, scores. Rockies throwing it around, doing what the Rockies do. Got the little inside the park dinger. So Scott got a dinger on his dinger picks. I'll count that one. So Scott, there you go. But yeah, like our offense hasn't been clicking. Morale's been hitting the ball pretty hard. Happ yesterday, 4 for 4 with a key walk to drive in the winning run. But besides that, there hasn't been any like real breakout offensive stars, I would say, early in the season. Is that a concern for you guys? Or is it going to be kind of like what I think is that we don't really have any stars on this team. Like you could say Belly's a star, but I wouldn't really consider, he's not like Mike Trout level or like Mookie Betts level. It's going to be a different guy every single night. And like Happ yesterday.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's not like when we get ready to play the Braves and they put their starting lineup and the batting and like everybody's got an OPS above 700 and you're like, cripes. Oh, Drew Smiley's starting. Great. Let's throw gas on this fire. No, you're right. It's going to be somebody every day that's going to like stand out. That's going to go 3 for 4 or 4 for 4. And then there's going to be guys that are going to be like 1 for 4. It's not a consistent lineup. I think they might get better after the first 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah, and it's always a small sample size at the beginning of the year. Even with all the talk of Happ leading off, it's the first game against a lefty. He was pushed down to the 5-6 hole, which ended up working out really well. I think he hit well, or he got a couple of walks that game, which if you listen to the compound, he always talks about. He gets a couple of walks. You can tell he's got the eye going.
Yeah, and even like today, like right away, very first inning, what does he do? He draws a walk. And that's what you need at kind of a leadoff hitter, where Nico doesn't quite work the count as much as Happ. So I do like, I don't mind Happ leading off. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking through what our averages look like right now, which is always ridiculous. Like highest average right now is, as Scott's saying, is Miguel Amaya at 500 because he's 2 for 4. So he's got that going for him. Morel has looked nice each game batting wise. He is. I think he's got a 4-game hit streak already.
He does. He has a 4-game hit streak going.
And they were talking. Was it today? They were talking that the longest hit streak from the very beginning of the season was like 18 games or something like that. JD and Boog were talking about that today. So hopefully he can take that for a ride.
I like Scott throwing the little Moneyball quote. Why do we like Happ?
Oh, yeah.
He gets on base.
And he does. He does that very well. And I feel like he does help jumpstart the offense with him getting on. Seiya's going to get hot eventually. And then you have Belly and Swanson behind him. Like, I like the way that the lineup is constructed, and kind of like what Ian talked about earlier. You can already see how Council is starting to manage differently than Ross and how it's working. And I've just liked the interviews that I've listened to, like before game, listening to 670 The Score and interviews. And it just the way Council talks, like it's very clear. I think he can send a message to the players very clear. Nothing is I feel like he's pretty direct, and really like that. But with Shota today, like something when I was listening to 670 The Score is they talked about in the pregame is, I think it was Coomer said that he talked to a lot of the Japanese broadcasters that were there at Wrigley for his first game, talking about like, hey, it's going to be cold, rainy. How is Shota is that going to impact Shota? And they all came back like, no, like he pitches better when it's cold and rainy and wet. Like in Japan, he performs a lot better. Like he's gonna show out today. And he did. Like he did exactly that, and so it was cool hearing that at the beginning, before the game, and then it played out exactly how they said.
He had great welcome to Chicago weather for his style. That seemed to work really well.
And he got to sing the song. That was his opening press conference, and that's how he opened. So he got to sing a song. Since you brought up Morel, Jeffrey.
Yes.
Are we concerned with Morel at third base? We have the bat, which has been doing well, but you have some struggles at third base. He's throwing a couple away. Today he hit a hard line drive, I think by Bryant. They kind of handcuffed him. He didn't play it and kind of got off. It didn't hurt because Shota struck the next guy out, but like, are we concerned with Morel at third base, or would you rather see Madrigal get more time? We've seen towards the end of the game, Morel get subbed in as a defensive replacement almost every single game. But are you concerned, or do you still want to see Morel getting starts at third?
I think he still needs to get starts at third. How's he going to settle in if he doesn't get any playing time over there? I mean, we can keep his bat in the lineup by DHing him, but at the same time, that doesn't fill in the big question mark of our corner infield positions. Maybe some of his errors on throws wouldn't be so bad if there was somebody taller over there. I don't know. Maybe if Belly was over there, maybe his errors would be cut in half. But I think you got to give a guy some time to really learn the position, especially since he's been playing all over the place. I mean,
Yeah. I agree with Jeff. I mean, related to the Morel thing, after the first game, after the first loss, I saw Twitter was lighting up with all sorts of like, Council's just like Ross. This is the worst use of the bullpen ever. And just like last year, after like the first couple games of Madrigal at third base, it was like, this isn't working. Get somebody else in there. What's going on? Yeah, the errors are going to come. I mean, I'm trying to remember, was it Starlin Castro? Way back when he had a couple really like error-filled seasons when he first started playing. I think it was shortstop, and he stepped in there because somebody got hurt. I don't remember exactly how it worked out. There's going to be errors. It's the hot corner for a reason. I like his bat in the lineup, and him playing third with his bat there allows us to use the DH in more creative ways. Because I know I kept reading before the season, like the hope was that that PCA would play well enough at Iowa to push Belly out of center field to first base and push Bush to DH. If that's the case, where's Morel? Because we want his bat there. I think we got to give him a little more time. My personal opinion.
And I was listening to the pregame, and Council talked about, it's like, okay, we have 4 outfielders that we want to playing time. And you even saw it today. Like, what'd they do with Seiya? They put him at the DH today.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And what they do with Happ yesterday, they put him at the DH. Like, they need to, he's wanting to find times to be able to get their outfielders rest, but not lose their bat. And so they're still in like kind of game, like they're getting games under them, but they're getting areas where they can rest them. If they do that, then it takes away from Morel being able to play third or DH. Mm-hmm. And my big thing is, like, with any young player, they're going to have errors. I guarantee you LA De La Cruz for the Reds is going to have some throwing errors this year. He's young. They're not going to get better unless they get playing time. They're not going to learn unless he gets playing time. And if the Cubs and if Council thinks that the Morel's going to be their everyday third baseman this year, then let him play. Like, at this point, like, everybody was complaining last year that Ross didn't let the kids play. It looks like so far that Council's going to let the kids play and figure it out and go through the growing pains. And sometimes Morel will give and Morel will take away. Like, Morel will like give up a couple runs with some errors, but he might add a couple by hitting the dinger. Like, that was it yesterday. Like, he hit a 3-run home run and then he had an error that cost us 2. Like, it's going to happen. But you know what? Like, I would rather have that right now with where we're at than anything else, because I think Morel has more opportunity to grow into being a really good third baseman. I don't know. He could. So
I think he's got a stronger arm than Nick Madrigal.
Oh, well, Morel, and that's what Madrigal was saying. He's like he's like the third highest. What was the stat? It was like the third highest arm speed. Yeah, like fielding arm speed, but they called it something like throwing your arm out speed or something like that. Yeah.
So I don't know. Like, I mean, Cubs Twitter, I think, is going to go nuts no matter what happens. Like, they're going to, like, as soon as he makes an error, they're going to jump all over him. And so it's like, I'm a little bit more like, okay, like, I can see where we need to get his bat in the lineup, especially when it's hitting. So if that has to be at third base and let's say a DH because we want Tauchman to get some at bats because he put together a good day yesterday, then so be it. Like, I'm going to work through that. And especially when we have pitchers that we are confident that Show is going to pitch out and dominate and keep us in it, even with the errors that we can pitch around those. It's more struggling when it's like a Hendricks where you can't afford to give up. Or when it's a really good team like the Rangers, you can't afford to give them outs. And that was the thing with the Cubs defense, not just Morel. You had Swanson having errors. You had Bush not being able to pick it over at first. You had like outfielders. Like, you had there was errors all over the field, which I think is a little bit because early in the season, we'll see if that changes over the course. I mean, they're Gold Glovers. They're going to be solid. It's just early in the season, we'll figure it out. I'm still super confident in Morel being all right eventually over there at third base.
Yeah,
sure.
I think he's gonna put it together.
I loved listening to the radio. Like today, I was listening. We've been building a house and we were finishing our floors today. We were like polishing them. And
Wait, you didn't have school today?
no, I didn't have school today. We had an extra day off for a break.
What holiday was it?
Easter.
What?
Oh, Jeff.
I'm not taking the bait, Jeff.
But
But
nobody's hopping on that one.
But what has been great is they did this last year a little bit, that Chicago Cubs radio has signed a deal with North Shore Adult Diapers.
Oh my God.
And if you're listening to the radio, like it's pure comedy with Coombe giving Pat Hughes it today on the radio of like whenever like they go to the bullpen, like, well, the Rockies need a change and you might need a change too. That's why you go to North Shore Adult Diapers. And Coombe gave it to Pat today. It was really funny. But yeah,
that's awesome.
so that's why, like, Jeffrey, get that app because then you can listen to all the Cubs radio. It's great.
They should work that into the buckle your seatbelts instead of strap up your North Shores.
Yeah, pull up your North Shores. The only other odder commercial I think I've ever heard is like for the dirty catheters, like people that have to use a catheter. They always get like urinary tract infections. Is that a huge problem? People using dirty catheters? I don't understand. I don't
Jeff
get
has
it.
questions, people.
I do.
I'm waiting for the comments for him to pop in. Nobody's jumping at that one.
Of all of us here, Jeff, I think you've had a catheter in the most recently. So
I have, and it was in for a short time, but I still don't understand why people got to keep using them. Why are they dirty?
The first game we lost Justin Steele. I do want to say, like, if you're watching on YouTube and you see my shirt,
stand up
and get just the eyes.
Are you standing on your chair now?
Jeff, quit trying to make a short joke. who is this player? Can you tell by the eyes? Just the eyes. But while you guys are trying to figure that out, Justin Steele, we lost him. He went down with a hamstring. The biggest concern for me with losing him for 4 to 6 months is the road ahead for the Chicago Cubs in the schedule. You look at April, they got the rest of the series with the Rockies. I'll show it again, the eyes. Then they have the Dodgers coming into town, then the Padres, Seattle, D-backs. So the Padres, Mariners, and D-backs are all away, and then they come home
D-backs.
with the Marlins, and then they have home with the Astros, and then away with Boston, and then away at the Mets. That's a pretty tough road ahead for the Cubs when you have the Dodgers. D-backs are really good, Astros, and to know that you're going to go through that stretch without your ace. Are you guys concerned, or do you believe in the Cubs pitching depth and that the young guys will fill in and pitch strong? What do you think, Jeff?
Well, that's a buzzsaw of a schedule we got coming up. And yes, it does suck to lose the ace in the first game after only 5 innings of pitching. But I believe we have the depth to piece his starts together to fill in that void and not tax the other starters and, going on short rest early in the season, like 4 days off instead of 5. It's just going to be iffy. You know what I mean? I think we're going to see some where two bullpen guys maybe piggyback on each other to create like a start like we've seen in recent years?
Yeah, I go back and forth because this was going to be a buzzsaw regardless. Does losing Steele mean we lose a couple more games in this period? Maybe. Would that stink? Absolutely. I mean, nobody wants to lose. It's not why we cheer the Cubs. But I think realistically, just having realistic expectations that like if we get to May and that first series versus the Brewers and we're around 500, like that, in my mind, I'm setting that up as a pretty high bar win. Like if we're at 500 at that point. But I was thinking that before we lost Steele. So if we end up losing, if we're a couple games under 500 now, I'm still in I'm pretty cool with that. I'm all right with that. I think it's definitely going to let us take a look at the depth. Let us see some, oh man, just lost a name. Let us see some Drew Smiley piggybacking off of Ben Brown. I think if Caleb Killian wasn't hurt, we would have seen a Caleb Killian start, probably would have imploded, and then that'd be done for the season. I don't know. I don't have a lot of
I just know
courage for him.
I just know that the ass man is pitching tomorrow.
Right.
And he's gonna shove against the Rockies, and that's gonna get him on to pitch every fifth day and be a solid guy
Right.
in the rotation. And like Scott said, I could see, especially if Ben Brown struggles one more time, that the phone might be ringing for Cade Horton by the Marlins series coming back home 18th, 19th, 20th.
Mm-hmm.
The Marlins aren't too good. That'd be a good time to call up Cade to get his first start. I would love that. So
that'd be fantastic.
Friday, 1:20 against the Marlins on the 19th. Let's go. Call up Cade Horton in the Blues, in the Wrigleyville Blues.
City Connects. There we go.
Let's go. I would be all over that. I don't know if they were in their City Connects that day, but that would be money. That would be money to get him called up on that day. Does it suck that Steele goes down? Yes, but it was a grade 1 hamstring strain, so that's the best news possible. Hopefully, he bounces back. It's a good recovery, and my thoughts are, I predicted that this was going to happen. That he was going to get injured. I was thinking more at the middle of the season. I look at this as a good thing because I thought that we would see him go down in the middle to late because of so many innings catching up to him. Here now, he's like saving on his arm a little bit at the beginning of the season. Like that's where to kind of see like
way to spin that into a positive, Mitch.
The positive, like
right.
in this, like it stinks, but like you need him down the stretch, right? And the season is a long season. Let's save the bullets in the arm in the chamber and let him shoot it when those games matter a little bit more. Not saying these don't matter, but like when we really need a horse. I'm confident in the guys can go out and give us some quality outings so far. So
point.
my shirt, Ryan Sandberg.
Nice.
So if you're watching, Ryan Sandberg wore it because he was at Wrigley today, throwing out the first pitch, recovering from cancer. So prayers to Rhino and speedy recovery for Rhino too. Like he's going through it, and we're right there. Wrigley was with him today, so it was awesome. It was awesome seeing him be able to throw out the first pitch. But yeah, we're 2-2. The Pirates are out hot right now. They were 4-0. Reds are still looking good. Guess who's in last place?
The Cardinals?
Cardinals. The Cardinals.
Oh,
yep.
Too bad.
So, but yeah, thanks for listening. This is episode 148 of the Dingers podcast. We'll be back at it next Monday. We might be doing some fun things coming up with some extra podcast episodes. So be on the lookout for those, and also be on the lookout for Jake and Ian's live stream of games. When they do that, they have their schedule. You can look at Jake's Twitter for that.
The Bird app.
The Bird app. Make sure you're following Cubbies on Tap. And we are presented to you by On Tap Sports Network. So go check out them as well. And ontapsportsnetwork.com, where you can get all the great articles on all your favorite sports, Chicago sports teams. Yeah. You got anything else, guys?
No.
All right.
No, I think we covered quite a bit of stuff.
I have a question. What do you call a fake noodle?
What, you mean like where they take vegetables and try to sell it as pasta?
Sure. What do you call a fake noodle?
Bullshit, not food.
An impasta.
What?
That's impasta? A dad joke.
An impasta.
Jesus.
Yeah. The kids at school really love that one today.
Do you have like a calendar all year again?
I sure do, bud.
Oh my goodness.
All right. That does it for episode 148 of the Dingers Podcast. Go Cubs.
Go Cubs.